musicians for what they did to help us. It's preaching time. And Psalms 51, these words are written in the very first verse. And I want to talk about a conversation that I had with God entitled Tender Mercies. It's Psalms 51 and verse 1. Psalms 51 and verse 1. Psalms 51. Right in the middle of your Bible is Psalms. And the 51st number of Psalms, there are no chapters in Psalms.
That's right. That's right.
There are Psalms,
right.
Psalms 51, and the first verse. Have mercy upon me, O God, according to thy loving kindness, according unto the multitude of thy tender mercies. Blot out my transgressions. And I want to talk about tender mercies, a conversation that I had with God. I believe that if you are going to be in relationship with another person, that the starting place and the foundation of that relationship is an effective and meaningful communication.
Right.
We got to give up this thing about talking about people and around people and at people. And instead, we ought to take as serious as is possible the role of talking with people. And so I thought maybe I'd demonstrate how we might have a conversation about a hard matter. And I titled my conversation Tender Mercies, because it is about my sin. A hard matter, my sin. But God's response is tender mercy. So don't go sleep yet, because I've got, I think, my short sermon today, because my conversation is with God. And I'd just like you to overhear it this morning. First of all, I remembered what I had learned about God. And I approached him and asked him if he would have mercy on me. You do see that in verse 1. And so I asked him if he'd have mercy, and God perhaps responded to me, why me and why my mercy? And my response was, because of your loving kindness. And then he would say to me, well, isn't there loving kindness elsewhere? And I reminded him that in the hem of his garment, he has multitudes of tender mercies, and that I wanted some of those mercies. To me, well, what about your transgressions and your iniquities? And I said to God, well, if you wash me thoroughly, if you cleanse me and make me whole again, then I can get rid of my transgressions and my iniquity. And then God said to me, well, you were shaped in iniquity and formed from your mother's womb in sin. And I said to God, well, yes, that's true, but you got hyssop, and if you purge me with a bit of your hyssop, you can make me clean. And I will declare to the world that I am now whiter than snow. I'm talking about my conversation with God entitled Tender Mercy. God then looked at me and said, well, I saw you a long time ago. I've known you from the time you were conceived in your mother's womb, and I know you in your rising up and your sitting down. I know you in your good and your bad. I know you all the time. My eyes are everywhere, watching and seeing you just like you are. And then I said to him, well, if that's the case, then will you do me a favor? Cleanse me. of all of my sins. Since you know me, I mean, don't just cleanse me of the big sins. Don't just cleanse me of those that I confess. Don't just cleanse me of those that other people know about. But Lord, if you know me and you know all about me, do me a favor and cleanse me of all of my sins. And he said to me, he said, well, I would do it. He said, but you chose to leave my presence. You chose to separate yourself from me. You chose. I'm almost done with my sermon. So if anybody needs you sleep, wake them up and tell them that he's almost done. And God said to me, you chose to leave my presence. You ate from the wrong tree. You sinned and went astray. You chose to do things your own way. And here you are asking him. So I said to him, listen, since you got a son, will you send him? Let him restore me and restore the joy of myself. You just sent your son, or you sent servants before, but I put them in their places. Or you sent one servant and I killed him. You sent another and I beat him. You sent another one and I ran him out of town. But then, Lord, you got a son. Send your son and let him restore the joy of my salvation. And you know what God said to me? Well, since you asked, and since you've been waiting for him to come, and since you can't save yourself, and since you can't do anything about your own relationship, I'll send my son. And when I send them, I'm going to send them with life, and that more abundant. And so he sent his son. And he came and he walked among us. And the book says that he dwelt among us, and those who accepted him, he gave the right to become sons of God. And I've come, Brother Carpenter, to remind you just one more time, I am a child of the King. And I can have a conversation with my God. And then you ask me, well, so you had the conversation, then what's your commitment? Well, my commitment is that if he will wash me and cleanse me, if he'll make me whole, if he'll restore me, if he'll wash me in hyssop, if he'll make me one of his own, then I will go out and tell the whole world who I know. I know a man. Oh, Lord, I've got to quit now. I've got to quit because I'm done. Because I want to suggest to you that you ought to have a conversation with God. Amen. Listen, turn the TV off every night. Maybe you want to use the internet, but you got to learn what LOL means and what BTW means. And you got to figure out some code words. But if you're talking to God, oh, hallelujah, you can call him up anytime, and he will answer every time. Oh, hallelujah. So I said to him, Lord, I'm calling you, and I'm calling you because I need you. But I need you not just for me, but there's some Calvary folks who have lost their way. They have sinned and fallen short, Brother Brown. They've fallen by the wayside. They're caught up in their iniquities and their transgressions, God, and I want you to save them too. I don't want to go to heaven by myself, girl. I'd like you to come and go with me, Lord, and send them along. And I had this conversation with God, and I promised him that if he'd save my soul, I'd tell the whole world about this. I got something within me that I cannot explain, but whatever it is, whatever it is, I just can't hold my peace. I know a man from Galilee. His name is Jesus. Now, I don't know who you believe in, but listen, I believe in Jesus because, first of all, he listened to my conversation and met my need. and came to my rescue and invited me to be one of his own. I am a child of the King. The doors of the church are standing wide open. And if you're here this morning by letter candidate for baptism, Christian experience, come and have a conversation with God. Today is a good day, and we'd like to introduce you to his son, Jesus, who came and lived among us and gave his life, died and was buried in another man's tomb, and rose early on the third day morning and decided that he was going to save the world with all power in his hand. Will you come by letter candidate for baptism, Christian Spirit? Yes, sir. Whatever you do, Lord, don't take your joy from me. Hold me with thy Spirit. Whatever you do, Lord, don't take your joy from me. Say,